Are you a working professional but struggling to balance the workload of your career, family, obligations, and preparing for your financial future? If so, this podcast is for you. You've spent years learning your craft, and now it's time to focus on your financial future. This podcast will teach you what you need to retire wealthy and happy. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Retire Wealthy and Happy podcast. We created this podcast to provide financial tips and tricks to help you build up your passive income and also provide methods that you can use to protect your wealth so that you can plan a better future for yourself and your family. We're grateful to have this podcast sponsored by Monument Real Estate Capital. Monument Real Estate Capital, helping you retire 10 years early through real estate investments.
Welcome to the Retire Wealthy and Happy podcast. I'm Roger Jacobson, and today I have Will Basta with me, who is an e-commerce specialist. He works in the tech space and also does digital real estate, amongst other things. How you doing today, Will?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. How are you?
Doing good. Tell me how you got your start in the e-commerce space.
Yeah, we can go back to my first attempt on Amazon, which a lot of people who have got involved early on, or even to this day, it's obviously a little bit different now than 2014. But my first interest into doing sort of a side hustle was around 2014, getting my first Amazon store opened, which is virtually pretty easy. But going into product development, learning how to essentially research a product, connect with the manufacturer, et cetera, was actually a pet toy back in 2014. It didn't have that much success. But what I gained from that was learning the ecosystem on third-party platforms, obviously the biggest one, which is Amazon. And if we fast forward past that, a few years into that, there obviously were some successes on small and larger scales. And it led to my business partner today, him and I actually starting a business in late 2019, but really early 2020 before the pandemic, and doing it actually as a service for people who are looking to tap into the e-commerce marketplace and don't have the time or experience. And that's essentially what we do today, where my large company is that I operate today. We have about 1,000 clients, dozens of US employees, EU employees in Europe, as well as Dubai. And what we do is we build and operate brands and also wholesale businesses for investors looking to drive passive income through online marketplaces. And we do it A to Z for them, essentially. So our clients come from all different backgrounds. You could be retired. You could be going into retirement. You could be just out of college. You could be working in finance and real estate. You sort of name it. The commonality is you don't really have the time, but you want to tap and diversify into a market that's $1 trillion industry, which is e-commerce. And we sort of do the premium white glove kind of service. You come in with no knowledge, you pay a startup cost, and we do it all for you. And then we work off a profit split after that. That's it at a very high level, but that's sort of the storyline from 2014 to today.
That's awesome. What does somebody have to bring to work with you? Do they have to come up with an idea or a product to sell?
No, I get that question a lot. It's not the case. You come in, you want to make money. That's what it is, right? We don't really take on passion projects. We know what makes money, and it might not be the most desirable product, but at the end of the day, people come to us because they know there's money in e-commerce because it's only growing and growing and growing. So what you have to bring to the table is essentially 30 minutes of your time, maybe an hour of your time in the first month, and a minimum of a 5-figure initial startup cost, and then working capital to fund products. And we do absolutely everything else. It turns into a passive income business, as passive it can be. I don't really like to use the term passive because nothing in this world is truly passive. But ultimately, our goal is to handle 99% of the operations for our clients. So you come in and we do it all, and we're incentivized to grow the business and make as much money as we can for you, the owner of the asset, because we charge a small percentage of the net earnings and net profit that we make for the business month over month. That's essentially how the partnership is laid out.
That's cool. What are some ideas that you've had really bad experiences with as far as somebody thought it was a good idea, and then you tried to develop it, and it sounded good but didn't work?
To be honest with you, we don't take on products or ideas if we don't see the data behind it. Not saying every product has been a win, but we have had people propose a bunch of random different things, and we have to be realists with them. This is great and all, but this isn't going to make you money. It's going to make you broke because you're going to have to pump a lot of money into ads, and you're going to get minimal to no return on it, right? Most of the time, it's people not necessarily with a unique idea. They're just doing an idea that they think is unique, which has completely been done 1,000 times. That's generally what we tend to see. But, hey, I want to get into the exercise industry, fitness industry, and they want to start with like a workout band, and there's 1,000 companies that sell that already on Amazon, right? So that's what we tend to see more often, or something that's so obscure that the data is not showing any kind of trends around it, like something that could be, back in the day, there was like the fidget spinner kind of thing, something really weird that might show a little bit of life, but is not going to last, even if it does that. And so what we're really big on to piggyback off that in terms of niches and industries, we look at data, right? So we have aggregate data that's been collected since 2014, even when coming from my first involvement in e-commerce, and then all the way up to the 1,000 clients that we have and the 1,000+ stores that we've operated on. We have that data, and then we have outside data that's not internal, right? We use that as an aggregate with product research, AI, software, et cetera, and we come to a conclusion of, okay, what products are trending, what are consistently doing well, and all of that. Some are a little more high risk, some are a little more lower risk. But at the end of the day, there's a few categories that would do really, really well. There's products. If we're doing wholesale, we're obviously selling brands that already sell. And we just get exclusive partnerships with them for clients. And we do buy at a bulk, sell, volume discounts, sell at a margin. Those are generally grocery items, everyday use, detergent, toothpaste, stuff like that. If we're developing products and we're going in more in a white label kind of niche stuff, we're really big in the health and wellness space. So we develop everything from skincare brands, supplements, that kind of stuff. Pet space to this day is still really, really big if you do it right. Home improvement, really, really big. On the seasonal side, patio, outdoor stuff. This is the perfect time of the year for that. So we'll do like outdoor toys for kids, pool accessories, stuff like that. That's more seasonal approach and all year round when it comes down to a place like Florida. But that's sort of the arena we stick in. We do veer outside of that, depending on what the data is telling us and also what clients are looking to come with. I mean, you have client A and client B. Client A comes in, he or she may work on Wall Street or whatever, has zero time, just has money. They never talk to us. They never engage. They pay their startup. They pay their bill when we make the money. They're not engaged at all in what we're selling. They just want to have that asset generate money. Then there's client B, who has a little bit of time to let us run with it, but at the same time also wants to develop maybe something in a niche category that they like. And if we approve that category, we can give them some options of what we want to do that we think that can make them money. And we know that will actually generate true earnings. And then they can sort of get a little bit more picky on that. But generally 90% of the time it's client comes on, they pay a startup cost. We take the ball and we literally run with it from there. And their only engagement is essentially collecting the payouts that they get from the platform, whether it's TikTok, Walmart, Amazon, et cetera, and then paying the bill that we invoice them for, which is the X amount that we have made them and our percentage of that is owed.
That's awesome. You mentioned that you use AI for research. Do you use AI for anything else?
On the client side, primarily for the client side, it's predictive AI on product research and trends. We also use it internally for client relations, not as a bot, but as a way to get, if anything gets escalated or there's some kind of report or summary we want to provide a client based on progress. AI is very, very good at summarizing communication that we have had, as well as data, and putting it into a centralized kind of easy to read format to bring a report to a client on the progress of their business. We do that a little bit. So that's built into our client portal a little bit. That being said, on the other side, obviously there's AI used for a lot of different stuff, but I'd say most of them we're testing. The biggest thing that we're using the most of is essentially on the product research side. That's probably the biggest is predictive AI using algorithms to predict, products that may or may not do well. And then also inventory levels in warehousing and stuff like that. We have an AI component in almost every software that we use, which is can barely count on both hands how many softwares we are using across our warehouses that we have in the US, on the logistics side of things, to client services side, to product research is Five itself, to you name it, right? So there is always a component. I think you're left behind if you're not trying to integrate AI into every piece of software that you're using. And it doesn't have to be at a level that's extreme. It can be very, very small, because at the end of the day, the smallest amount that AI will do and the smallest thing it will do benefit-wise is save you time, right? After that, it's just all great stuff, right? So even if it's doing a tiny piece of stuff, it's saving you time, and time is money, right? And that also trickles down to the efficacy of our team producing results for our clients, and results is money. Essentially, we're in the business of making money for clients. So
That's awesome. Do you ever do stuff like coaching businesses? Are there any coaching businesses in the e-commerce
we do.
space?
Yeah. So on a lower cost side of things, which starts at around 10,000, we do a done with you type program where it's a little more time involvement from the client side, where they can essentially come on board with us. We essentially have an educational platform and a portal, but we also plug someone into the business for 6 months, inclusive in that, until they're generating revenue. And then they can either pay us on a retainer to split them, or they can also have us hire a team around them to build out an entire system for them after the 6 months, depending upon where they're at, right? So that's the closest we have to coaching. Obviously, our other programs start at 25, 35, upwards of 100K plus. They're a lot more sophisticated. But if you wanted to get your feet wet and you have a little bit of time, we have the ability to, per platform, at a $10,000 cost. Also, we'll list your first products. We'll really integrate into their business for them. And they'll have obviously a resource portal. And then we have something as low as a course actually on AI itself and how we integrate that into digital products and e-commerce. And that's as low as $1,500. So there's really a level for everyone. But the full service stuff obviously is a little bit more of a higher price tag, but you're paying a premium because you don't have time, right? All of these have guarantees built in, and it's not a guarantee is a word gets thrown out a lot. It's essentially an ROI buyback. So your upfront fee, we are ensuring that you make back that at minimum. If not, we'll pay you the difference of that and we'll acquire your store back from you. We also have a launch guarantee. So if you're not generating revenue within 30 to 60 days, depending on the platform, then obviously you will not be paying any fees. That's sort of how we built in security. And that's something that has actually evolved over the years. As we've been able to collect more data, we can assume more risk for our clients and able to actually guarantee these things, because we know there's a small percentage that this may or may not happen. And it's better, we're willing to take that risk on our side for the client to make them feel a little more comfortable, given that this is an alternative type of opportunity going into the e-commerce space. Most people are involved on it as consumers. They're not necessarily the sellers, right? I'm assuming you buy stuff on Amazon weekly, if not daily, if not monthly, whatever it may be, right? We all sort of have that purchasing kind of thing. And so we're just putting clients on the other side of it. So investing or getting involved on the other side of the table is alternative to people that are usually putting their money into real estate, et cetera. And so for us to essentially make it more comfortable for clients, we've been really, really, big on securing their startup costs, because it's not cheap. 25, 50, 100 grand is not cheap. Securing it with data-backed guarantees that we have for the clients themselves on the consulting side. So
I love it. It's really interesting. And it's kind of hard for people. Like, I'm 51, so I'm like the very tail end of the older generation. So it's, growing up without a cell phone and the new tech stuff and cryptocurrency and stuff like that is borderline on my knowledge. And I tend to be a little bit ahead of some people, way behind people that are in their younger years, like 30s and stuff like that. So if I ever need something done, I go to my youngest teenager and hand it to them, and they usually do something that, just befuddles me for hours in a few seconds, and they're like, oh, like this, and it's like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it happens at all levels, right? I'm 34, so it's like we're a corporate partner of TikTok Shop specifically, and that's up the shop e-commerce feature within the platform itself. I don't personally have a TikTok, right? It's too much for me to even look at. That is a generation below me, which is mainly involved on that, right? After Instagram, I was like, no. But as a company, we know there is a massive opportunity there, and it's huge. They have an algorithm like no one's ever seen. And that algorithm is essentially, something where you can have a product that can get in front of tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions of people, for free, essentially, if it's done right. If you leverage the algorithm the right way, you can have your product that's selling, and our clients' products. That's what we do, is we make them viral, right? And then the virality leads to a lot of money, right? And so that's why we're bullish on that platform. We could talk about the potential ban and all that kind of stuff, which in my eyes is sort of nonsense. And even if that were to happen, be 2 years from now, to have any kind of effect. But the point I'm trying to make here is that's a unique platform because it's the first time they've integrated, not the first time, but the first truly successful time where a social media platform that's meant for social media has truly integrated a strong e-commerce side of the business. And they're even coming up with warehousing and all of that. And I'm really bullish on it just because it's not like Instagram with Instagram Shop. This is completely different. The amount of time people spend on TikTok and how it works, the ability to have impulsive purchasing and products reach a certain level out of nowhere, it's sort of sky's the limit, which makes it feel like it's the Wild West. But because we can't predict that, right? We know how to get it there. We don't know when a product will get to a certain point, but you can sort of, for example, have 100 sales cumulatively in 2 weeks on, let's just say it's I know just recently there was a client that had something for some kind of seed fertilizer thing that was sort of unique that we were selling for them. And it was pretty much not doing anything it was really, really slow sales for a few weeks. This is a product that we sourced for them. And out of nowhere, they had a $500 day. And then the rest of that week, it was cumulative. It was about $6,000 in sales. That was the last time I looked. Out of nowhere, right? That tends to not happen on any other platform. It can, but it's extremely rare. And why that happened is because one of the videos that we made on a sub account of it just hit the algorithm right. And it completely went viral and went in front of 100,000 plus people, right? And then obviously when you're in front of that many people and you have a flash sale, people are going in and shop. The shop feature means they don't have to leave the platform. So there's no friction in order for them to make that purchase. And there's no abandoned cart type stuff, which leads to, a large amount of sales. I believe they're still selling right now and doing pretty well. So those kind of unique things are cool about that platform. Very different than Amazon or Walmart. You're going on Amazon, Walmart. You're going on that platform to sell or to purchase, I should say. Sorry. Like I'm not going on Amazon.com unless I'm planning on really buying something. You're not just going on there to scroll. Sometimes you do, but you end up buying something most of the time, right? As opposed to TikTok, you're going on for social media purposes and you end up actually purchasing based on an impulse purchase, right? Which is sort of an interesting concept. If we look at it in sort of the other side of it, it's like, what is the world coming to with consumerism? But it's something that we're capitalizing on for our clients. So
it's really interesting. And lately I've been buying like crazy on Amazon because I do home improvement. So I flip houses.
Yeah. And there you go.
I'll either have it shipped directly to the house or to my house, and there'll be piles of stuff on the front porch.
Yeah.
Plus, getting married here is pretty soon, along with the bachelor and bachelorette parties that have been going. It's like impossible to get to the door on the front porch because of all the packages. But I've never, to this day, bought anything off of TikTok. So I'm going to have to check that out some more and see.
It'll happen eventually. They're still early on. They only came to the US in September, but it's been in the UK for a while. And you can get caught in that web too. It's a different kind of thing. You're not going to be, you might find the weird, unique gadget for home improvement that you never thought existed. That's where you find it on TikTok. You're not going to TikTok to go buy paintbrush. You're going to randomly find, you go to not find something and you randomly come across, because we all know the phone listens to you, some weird gadget that you can use for flipping a house or whatever it is for doing a quick fixer upper that you never knew existed. That's the kind of stuff that you find on the platform. So
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to go look for tips and tricks on the TikTok to see what else I can learn.
yeah.
Awesome. What else can you tell me?
It's an interesting market, e-commerce, right? To invest in. It's an interesting asset class. I mean, so we've been doing this for a pretty long time now. And the way that we sort of look at these business models and how this sort of goes is we sort of obviously we follow consumer trends and we follow where things are going, but we also look at marketplaces and how they expand and where they're expanding. And so just recently, we just got into the UAE market. So we're doing Amazon in Dubai, which has a very, very bright future. It's almost like doing Amazon, getting involved in Amazon US in 2015, right? And Amazon Germany is something that's next on our list. So people get stuck in the idea of it's just the US, right? It's not. So our big vision for our company is the clients that are US based, we want them to be able to have access to have a wide consumer net or cast a wide consumer net where they can make money on Amazon and multinationally, right? So in different markets that are emerging, because we're really big on getting in on the ground floor. So we're the first company of our kind to really do this for TikTok in the US. And we're the first US company that's doing it for companies abroad or for Amazon abroad as well, for our US clients. And so I really look at it as a global thing, because that's where the world's really going. Obviously the US things in terms of consumers and things sort of start here first, right? But that's an exciting thing. Obviously the e-commerce piece is huge. There's a lot of different things in this market that have changed. This is the company, ACV that I've been running for a while. That's our bread and butter, but we're looking at things on a global front. Our big vision is seeing, hey, you can be in Singapore and invest in the US market through sort of a fund model, which we're in the middle of developing right now. But I've been in it for so long. I'm happy to answer any kind of questions in terms of that piece, why we called it, you mentioned and alluded to digital real estate. It does have asset appreciation. So that's why that got brought up, because we look at e-commerce as an actual asset class and it appreciates in value over time, right? So our businesses can have an exit value just like real estate does. That's why we call it digital real estate. It's a piece of the digital landscape, right? And if you do it the right way, it appreciates at a pretty solid rate. You can have a decent exit value.
So if I wanted to buy an apartment building or a self-storage facility, how could you help with that in the digital real estate space?
When I say digital real estate, I mean, it's actually an e-commerce business. So an e-commerce business is digital real estate. Real estate online, meaning
I gotcha.
An Amazon business you can sell in 3 years. It is a piece of real estate online. It's online real estate, meaning it's a digital asset that can be sold as if it's real estate. It can appreciate and cash flow the same way. Obviously, they're two different things, but there's a lot of similarities. We get a lot of real estate investors that come to us and that are very, very interested in getting involved because of the similarities that you see. Obviously, it's different, but real estate in terms of it actually can cash flow a little bit sooner. It's less money up front most of the time, unless you're doing like a DSRC loan or some kind of specific kind of leveraging other people's money or whatever it may be, right? There's a lot of similarities, but also a lot of benefits of why real estate investors like to have maybe 10 to 50% of the portfolio actually be in e-commerce, because there's a lot of parallels in terms of what you can do. I actually got to the point where I was flipping e-commerce businesses. I'm in real estate too. I'm in the middle of doing a flip right now on the Gulf outside of Tampa. I have a rental property in that area as well, and then a couple properties in California. But I've been in e-commerce for so long that I got to the point where I was taking businesses, building them up for a year in e-com, because we know exactly how to do it, and then flipping them and getting like a 25 and a 2x on them or 3x on them, right? If you do it the right way, if you execute it the right way. So it's an interesting market. It's fun. Obviously, I don't recommend people who just get into it to do that. I've been doing this for 10 years. So that's why, to keep it exciting, I actually been flipping e-commerce businesses. It's truly a thing. So
that's awesome. in our initial call, you mentioned that you owned a house in Dubai. I'm working on several things that are out of this country, buying real estate. How did that go? And, how did you do that?
Yeah, it's in development. I bought a pre-dev uh, investment in Dubai in downtown. So it should be done by mid 2025, I believe. So it's not finished yet. I'm a resident in Dubai, so I have residency there. Acquired residency or business, opened an office there as well. So there's that piece, obviously, which assisted. We do have a service there too, and we have a partner that can assist in that piece too. So if you are interested in getting an entity out there or getting golden visa, the only caveat is you need to be there once every 6 months. You can go in and out the same day. But it opens up a wide range of possibilities in terms of investing in the Middle East, which is blowing up right now in a lot of good ways, in terms of real estate and businesses in general, and markets that did well in the US that are fairly new there that you can almost rinse and repeat, right? But you don't need to be a resident. I didn't have my residency yet when I actually invested in real estate there. So that was just done outside as a foreigner, which is very easy. They have really simple rules on that. And the beauty of Dubai real estate is that unlike a lot of the rules in the US, where you can't sell or flip a property if it's in development until it's completed and the last payment's made, in Dubai, you can do it mid development. So you can be pre-dev and put down 20% of your payment and it appreciates in a year and then flip it from there. So that's actually pretty cool. I know obviously you probably do it some places in the US. I don't know, you might know this, you probably know this more than me, but of my knowledge is and it depends on the actual developer, obviously, right? But almost all of the developers in the US, in the Dubai, you can flip your investment before you even pay the full amount, right? Which is a really cool concept. And they're growing so much over there that's sort of something to look at. You're looking at real estate there and you like doing flips.
It's awesome. I think here in America, that's more of a state by state type thing. So as of right now, I think Florida has outlawed wholesaling of houses. And I think there's one other state that has too, but we do different types of development. And when you hit a certain level of entitlement, you can be under contract with nothing, and depending on writing the contract the right way, it can be sold and reassigned. So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I really appreciate you being on the show today. We always leave with the final four. The final four are four questions that we ask everybody, get kind of a scope of them and their interests. The first question is, what is your favorite business book?
Favorite business book? Oh, man. You're going to catch me on this one. I'm trying to think on... I actually would not even consider... You could consider... I would... I'm not going to go with the typical, some of the typicals. I'm going to go one that's a little bit off. There's a couple. I like, obviously, this is one that everyone would say, or a lot of people would say, was Atomic Habits. But Don't Believe Everything You Think is not necessarily a business book, but what's in there, I would consider very, very applicable to everyday life. And obviously, if you're in business, everyday life is business, right? And you can bleed into what you're doing in business, right? So it's not talking directly about business by any means. It's a mindset book that has a lot of applicability to how to operate business and how you sort of react to certain things in business and all of that. Don't Believe Everything You Think. That's what it's called. It's a very short read. It's 120 pages, maybe 130. Great book. You can just tell by the title.
That sounds good. Definitely a good contrarian view in the title. So very interesting.
Yeah.
Question number 2. What brings you happiness?
My dog, Buster, and, making other people happy. I think giving. It's probably, and my family. Yeah.
That kind of leads into question number 3. How do you give back?
It's not always things, right? I do have some philanthropic kind of initiatives I'm involved in, like a clean clean water project I'm doing in the Middle East, a lot of dog rescue nonprofits I'm involved in financially, and looking to step that up a little bit outside of financially, mainly that are pity rescues, pit bull rescues, because I have a pit bull myself who was rescued. And then I like to just I like to buy things for family and friends when it's not an occasion. So not just on Mother's Day. Like I just bought my mom a sweatshirt today that is like this really cozy at home kind of thing. That's like a one size fits all, goes down to your calves almost, probably for her. But she was just visiting and she liked it a lot. And I have one of them. Right. And so she didn't really ask for it, but I bought it this morning. She just set up 2 days ago and she's going to get it at the end of this week. She's not going to expect it, but it's going to show up on our doorstep. Right. Those kind of things.
Love it. Me and the fiance and 2 daughters went to the flea market yesterday, and I got the fiance a little dragonfly necklace, and the daughters some little matching rose necklaces and earrings, and it was just so cute, like so much fun.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Question number 4: what does your future retirement look like?
Most likely, I mean, I'm definitely 99% chance I won't be living in the US. I know that. So there's this. I will be somewhere with whoever I am with at that time. People that I love around me, hopefully, and honestly, just simplicity, away from the noise. I don't really look at retirement as like the term retirement too, to me, is more of just, it's not about not doing anything, right? People look at it as like, oh, you retire and then you just sit back and fucking, that's that. But no, people don't want to just do that, right? Life is still about living, right? I'm not waiting to travel. I've been traveling my whole life. So it's not like, oh, when I retire, I'll travel. For me, it's more of just simplifying things, because business can be crazy. So I look at retirement as things I'm doing now, but having a little bit more of a simple approach to it, which is important, because hustle bustle business is fun and all, but it can get draining, right? And reaping the rewards of everything you've built means, being able to have a little more time to enjoy the simple and finer things, which I try to do now anyway, but I see that as being a little bit more easier to do when you're not managing a massive business and hustling. So,
Do you have an exit strategy for your business?
For the direct business we have right now, believe it or not, I mean, we're working on a lot of different things. I can't reveal all of it right now on this podcast, but again, we're going global. There's a branch off of what we're doing right now. There's just so much more to accomplish. On the exit strategy side, I would say, yes, we do. But is it something that it's more of like, oh, if we really need to, sure, we'll go down that. But I don't really look at anything like that as anything immediate, right? There's just too much more to accomplish. So I want to say, yes, we do, because I think most people in business that have been established obviously have that. But do I plan on enacting it anytime soon? And is it ever being used? And it'll probably evolve and iterate. Yeah, most likely it's going to change. And I think there's a lot more to accomplish in this industry in general. And so, yes and no. That was a very political answer. Sorry.
I can appreciate that. Thanks so much for being on the show today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
And everybody, thank you for listening into a Retire Wealthy and Happy podcast. We'll see you next time.
Hope you got value from this episode. And if you have a minute, then take the time to leave an honest written review for the podcast, because we take those reviews seriously and it'll help us serve you better on the next episodes. And most importantly, be sure to start taking action so you can control your financial future today.